blast. All right, let's dive into the news segment with some breaking inputs coming in. This is a CNN News 18 exclusive. We spoke to CJI Designate Justice Surya Kant, who is set to be sworn in as the country's top judicial officer tomorrow. And in the interview, he has called for developing a distinctly Indian legal framework rooted in swadeshi jurisprudence rather than foreign legal doctrines. That's a big statement coming in. He has given that exclusive quote to CNN News 18, the CJI Designate Justice Surya Kant over there, pushing for a swadeshi justice system in India. He's saying that this is the time to bring in a swadeshi justice system, one that is rooted in India and Bharat's own values, and one that doesn't propagate or advocate international doctrines so far. Remember this, as we've seen in the years gone by, there has been a redoing of the Indian Constitution, whether it is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. We've seen how India is now adopting its own constitution according to its own swadeshi point of view, and that is also a view that has been endorsed now by the new CJI Designate Justice Surya Kant, who's called that there should be a modern, more efficient judicial system in India, one which is also streamlining appointments and time-bound elevations. And he's saying that his own elevation is now reflecting the opportunities that democracies, and especially big democracies like India, have to offer. Let's quickly go across to Ananya Bhatnagar, who brings us that exclusive input. Ananya, put this into perspective for us. When the CJI Designate calls for a system that is more swadeshi and not based on the lines of an international doctrine, what is he talking about?
Well, absolutely. In fact, the Chief Justice of India Designate Justice Surya Kant is somebody who would be taking oath as the 53rd Chief Justice of India tomorrow. And in fact,
all right, we seem to have lost that connection, but time-bound disposal of cases is also one very crucial aspect that he's highlighted on, because remember, when it comes to any form of justice, whether it is the issue of human rights violations or even granting capital punishment, we have seen, especially when it comes to terror-related cases, India has borne the brunt of terrorism, because as far as making an example out of the way India has borne the brunt of terrorism, the Indian judicial system has always failed to grant justice, and that is also one important aspect that perhaps the CJI Designate Justice Surya Kant is touching upon when he's saying that there has to be a timely disposal of cases. He's also backed a truly Indian swadeshi judicial system, one which is now receding from the international doctrine that the Indian judicial system was rooted in so far. Collaborative structure needed to tackle pendency nationally, and when he's talking about that collaborative structure, he's also highlighting how there has to be a ground sort of approach which has to be adopted, which should begin from the point there's an investigation, whether it is the state authorities or even central agencies, all the way up to the judiciary. He's saying that his own elevation as the Chief Justice of India is reflecting the opportunities that democracies like India have to offer. But most importantly, he's saying that a swadeshi judiciary must serve the rural citizens inclusively, because remember, several instances are there which go on to indicate that the rural citizens are not provided justice on time. Ananya is back with us. So Ananya, to begin with, let's focus on the need for adopting a more swadeshi approach to India's judiciary. Shed more light.
Well, the Chief Justice of India Designate Justice Surya Kant has categorically gone on to say that, we need to shift that British colonial era mindset, because the British courts were actually designed to serve the imperial purpose, while the Indian Swadeshi courts are more which are the people, which are more accessible for the people, and not only accessible for the people, but also which can provide justice till the last. And Justice Surya Kant is a testament, is an example in himself, because he's somebody who's risen from the farmlands of Hisar and now coming to the highest seat in the national capital as far as the Indian judiciary is concerned. And that is something, that reflects upon his journey. And he also speaks about that. He says that, my journey is in fact a testament, because not only I'll be donning this chair after coming from where I am, and definitely he says that, the unique quality, the USP that he's going to bring to, in fact, the Chief Justice's chair is that, he's somebody who's risen from those farmlands, who's seen, people in rural India. That is something, rural India would definitely reflect in my decisions, is what Justice Surya Kant has told in an exclusive conversation, a text conversation with CNN News 18. It's a mega exclusive that we have got for our viewers. And very clearly, the Chief Justice of India designate, somebody who will be taking oath as the 53rd Chief Justice of India tomorrow, is somebody who has very clearly stated that there is a collaboration.
Let's also talk about how he has emphasized on a timely disposal of cases, because when he's talking about moving away from the international doctrine, remember, he's making a conscious effort to also address how the colonial mindset or the colonial era rules were impacting this kind of timely disposal of cases so far.
Well, absolutely. Pendency remains to be his major focus, and the first thing that he wants to address, that he has very clearly told us, that the scoreboard of 90,000 cases that is there, he wants to curb it down. He wants to bring that down as much as he can, and in fact, a collaborative effort. And this is something that he has very clearly told us, that there is a collaborative mechanism being developed with the high courts and the lower judiciary in order to tackle the and India, pendency is concerned. And as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, he has a lot of things in mind, which he said that, he'll be implementing in order to curb down the kind of pendency that Indian judiciary has, because it's one of the major challenges that needs to be addressed because of the high number of litigations that keep coming. He also says that emphasis on mediation. As far as government is concerned, he says that, he's also engaging with the government in order to take the mediation route, because that is something, that could help in bringing down the pendency of courts. And that's exactly how pendency can actually be tackled with, and that is something that is in the mind of the Chief Justice of India designate. A period of over 17 months as the Chief Justice of India he will be taking. So very clearly at this juncture, pendency is his first focus. It's
very interesting, because at a time India has been looking at 75 years of independence. He's also someone who's referred to the 75 years of the Supreme Court's own jurisprudence, where he's saying that India has come a long way in its own judicial system. We have our own set of historical judgments, and why should we even be required to look at judgments abroad when the jurisprudence in other countries are looking towards us?
Well, absolutely. Whether it's, I still remember the abortion judgment that Justice Chanchud given. It has now become a testament against the Joe versus Wade, and that is something that the Chief Justice of India designate Justice Surya Kant also keeps talking about. That we need to bring that Indian flavor. Recent judgment, if we go by the example, the recent judgment in the governor case, the bench which was headed by the current Chief Justice, Justice B.R. Gawai, also comprising Justice Surya Kant, had not referred to any, pre-colonial era or probably any foreign judgment as far as the cases are concerned. They have completely referred to the Indian courts, and they say that, this is a swadeshi court, and that's the approach that is actually needed. And with Justice Surya Kant taking over as the 53rd Chief Justice of India, one thing is very, very clear, Akansha, that he is somebody who comes from the farmlands of Hisar. He has grown up there. He used to study in fact, the village school there. So he's somebody who knows what happens in the grassroots. He is empathetic towards the rural people as well. And that is something that keeps reflecting in his judgment as well. So now he says that we need a more Swadeshi court is something that we'll see a new and transformed Supreme Court in the next one or 1.5 years.
Absolutely. It will be interesting to watch what will be the new aspects that more Swadeshi sort of judicial system will be focused on. Many thanks to you, Ananya, for bringing us those latest inputs with that.